An International Development Organization Website Guide 1. Chapter 1. A list of worldwide organization websites. Specific international organizations and IGO websites. There are many international organizations. Most non-profits and NGOs operate beyond the bounds of their home countries. IGOs are intergovernmental organizations like the United Nations, NATO, WHO and others that were developed by a conglomeration of countries to serve a worldwide function that goes beyond the jurisdiction of just one country. 193.123.144.14/Interpol, PR, International Criminal Police Organization. AAA.com, American Automobile Association. Abanet.org, Magazine International Lawyer. ACOSEC.org, African, Caribbean and Pacific Group of States. ACS-AEC.org, Association of Caribbean States. ADB.org, Asian Development Bank. adb.org/economics/default.asp, economics and statistics. adb.org/publications/default.asp, publications. AEI.org, American Enterprise Institute, Economics. AFDB.org, African Development Bank. afdb.org/knowledge/home_publications.htm, African Development Bank Publications. afdb.org/knowledge/home_publications.htm, publications. Africa, Union.org, African Union, O. Agriventure.com, Agriculture. AIA-AEROSPACE.org, Aerospace Industries Association of America. ALATI.org, Asociación Latinoamericana de Integración. ALPA.org, Airline Pilots Association International. Amnesty.org. APCC.org.sg, Asian and Pacific Coconut Community. APEC.sec.org.sg, Asian Pacific Economic CO. APECCC.org, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. APECCC.org.sg, Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation. APO, Tokyo.org, Asian Productivity Organization. ArabLaguiOnline.org, Arab League. ArabLaguiOnline.org/arabaleg/index_n.jsp, League of Arab States. ARCTIC-COUNCIL.org, Arctic Council. ARCTIC-COUNCIL.org, Arctic Council. ASEAN.or.id, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. ASEAN.org, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. ASEANZC.org, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. ASEANZC.org, Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Asian.devbank.org, Asian Development Bank. Associationsuia.org. AU.int, African Union. AU.int, African Union, formerly Organization of African Unity. BCEAO.int/BCEAO.htm, Central Bank of West African States, CAO. BCIE.org/index.htm, Central American Bank for Economic Integration. BioDIV.org, Convention on Biological Diversity. BIPM.org, International Bureau of Weights and Measures, BIPM. BIS.org, Bank for International Settlements. BIS.org, the Basel Committee. Brook.edu, Brookings Institute, Economics, Government, etc. CABI.org, CAB International. CABI.org, Non-profit, pro-human welfare. Carib, Export.com, Caribbean Export Development Agency. CaribaNK.org, Caribbean Development Bank. CARICOM.org, Caribbean Community and Common Market. CARICOM.org, Caribbean Community. Cato.org, Cato Institute, Public Policy Issues. CBSS.st, Council of the Baltic States. ccamlr.org, Commission for the Conservation of Antarctic Marine Living Resources, CAMLR. cdic.ca. cec.org, NAFTA Commission for Environmental Cooperation. cec.org/home/index.cfm?vrlan English, North American Commission for Environmental Cooperation. cec.org/pubs_info_resources/databases/index.cfm?vrlan English, CEC databases. cec.org/pubs_info_resources/publications/index.cfm?vrlan English, CEC publications. cecp.org, U.S. cooperates with Russia in education. cern.ch, European Organization for Nuclear Research. cfr.org, Council on Foreign Relations. cgap.org, consultative group to assist the poorest. cgap.org/html/publications.html, publications. cgiar.org, consultative group on international agricultural research. cgiar.org, International Agricultural Research. cgiar.org/cgpubs.htm, Geyer publications. chathamhouse.org, Chatham House, the Royal Institute of International Affairs, British research organisation on international affairs. cirdap.org.sg, Centre on Integrated Rural Development for Asia and the Pacific. cis.minsk.by, Commonwealth of Independent States. cis.minsk.by, Executive Committee. cistat.com/eng/cis.htm, Commonwealth of Independent States, CIS. clubdeparis.org/en/index.php, Paris Club. coe.fr, Council of Europe. coe.int/default10.asp, Council of Europe. comsa.int, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. comunidadandina.org/index.htm, Andean Community. comunidadandina.org/ingles/documents.htm, documents. comunidadandina.org/ingles/status.htm, statistics. conventions.coe.int, Directorate General I, Legal Affairs, Treaty Office. cplp.org, Community of Portuguese-Speaking Nations, CPLP. cpps, int.org/espa/index.html, Permanent Commission for the South Pacific, CPPS. csis.org, Center for Strategic and International Studies. csis.org, Strategic and International Studies. ctbeta.org, Commission for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization. ctbeta.org, Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, PTO. dai.com/jobs/jobs.htm, Development Alternatives, Inc., U.S. consulting firm, Environment and Natural Resources, Public Management, Finance, Banking, Information Systems, Agriculture, etc. db.lib.washington.edu/wti/wtdb.htm, World Treaty Index. devbank.org, Development Bank. Development 3. dur.ac.uk/IBRU, International Boundaries Research Unit, updates on the world's boundary disputes, Durham University, UK. ebrd.com, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. ebrd.com/english/index.htm, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. ebrd.com/english/public/index.htm, publications. ec.europa.eu/stats/html/index.n.html, statistics. ecb.int, European Central Bank, ECB. ecar.coe.int, European Court of Human Rights. econ.worldbank.org, World Bank Research. edu.int, edu. efta.int, European Free Trade Association. EFTA.int, European Free Trade Association. EIB.org, European Investment Bank. ELDIS.org, ELDIS, Gateway to Development Information, all aspects, kept current. EPSI.org, Ethics and Public Policy Center. ESA.int, European Space Agency. ESCWA.org.lb, Economic and Social Commission for Western Asia. etown.edu/vl, International Affairs Resources. euro.ecb.int, the Euro. euro-acp.com. europa.eu.int, European Union. europa.eu/index_n.htm, European Union, EU. European, Patent, Office.org, European Patent Office. european-council.europa.eu/G7 Brussels, Group of 8, G8. EURunion.org, European Union. eutelsat.org/home/index.html, eutelsat, European Telecommunications Satellite Organization. FAO.org, Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO. FAO.org, Food and Agriculture Organization. FAO.org/documents, FAO Corporate Document Repository. FAO.org/fi/body/rfb/gfcm/gfcm_home.htm, General Fisheries Commission for the Mediterranean, GFCM. FAO.org/fisheries/rfb/ibsfc/n, International Baltic Sea Fishery Commission, IBSFC. FAO.org/wasent/search/default.htm, World Agricultural Information Center, WASENT. FFA.int/www/index.cfm, Forum Fisheries Agency, of the South Pacific Forum, FFA. ForeignAffairs.org, Foreign Affairs, the most prestigious U.S. ForeignPolicy.com, Foreign Policy Magazine. ForeignRelations.org, International Affairs. ForumZC.org.fj, Pacific Islands Forum. ForumZC.org/fj, South Pacific Forum Secretariat. FPA.org, Foreign Policy Association. Francopihani.org, France. Francopihani.org, Francophonie, Organisation de la, French-speaking nations and those with an affiliation with French culture. Francopihani.org, Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. Francopihani.org/oif.cfm, Organisation Internationale de la Francophonie. FTA, alca.org, Free Trade Area of the Americas. FTAA-ALCA.org, Free Trade of the Americas. G20.org, G20, Group of 20. G20.org, Group of 20, G20. G7.utoronto.ca, G8, Group of 8, Information Center. G77.org, G77, Group of 77. GATT.org, General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. GCC, sg.org/home_e.html, Gulf Cooperation Council. GCSB.ch, Geneva Center for Security Policy. GDLN.org, Global Development Learning Network. GEFweb.org, Global Environment Facility Secretariat. Goodwill.org. grida.no/amap/amap.htm, Arctic Monitoring and Assessment Program. gtz.de/personal/English, German Service, organizes development worldwide. imf.org/external/np/adm/rec/vacancy.htm, International Monetary Foundation, Jobs and Internships. IOM.int, International Organization for Migration, Help Refugees. Helcom.fi, Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission. Helcom.fi, Helsinki Commission, Baltic Marine Environment Protection Commission. Heritage.org, Conservative Public Policy. Hoover.org, International Relations. hudoc.ecar.coe.in/hudoc, Database of the Case, Law of the Supervisory Organs of the European Convention on Human Rights. Hudson.org, Public Policy. iadb.org, Inter-American Development Bank. iadb.org/exr/english/index_english.htm, Inter, American Development Bank, IADB. iadb.org/int/sta/english/staeb/index.htm, Statistics and Quantitative Analysis Unit. iaea.or.at, Atomic Energy Agency. iaea.org, iaeo.or.at, International Atomic Energy Agency. iaea.org/index.html, International Atomic Energy Agency. iatea.org, International Air Transport. iatc.org, Inter, American Tropical Tuna Commission, IATC. ibe.unesco.org/index.htm, International Bureau of Education. ibe.unesco.org/inf_doc/nat_reps/natrep.htm, IBE Databanks. icao.int, International Civil Aviation Organization. icao.org, Civil Aviation. icao.org, International Civil Aviation Organization. iccat.es, International Commission for the Conservation of Atlantic Tunas, ICAT. icc-cpi.int, International Criminal Court. iccwbo.org, International Chamber of Commerce. ices.dk, International Council for the Exploration of the Sea. ices.dk/hl/ices_marine_data_center.htm, ICES Marine Data Center. icf2.org, International Confederation of Free Trade Unions. icj-cij.org, International Court of Justice. ico.org, International Coffee Organization. ico.org/markinf.htm, Market Information. icrc.org, ifrc.org, Red Cross. icsg.org, International Copper Study Group, ICSG. ICSD.org, International Center for Trade. IDA.org, Institute for Defense Analysis. IEA.org, International Energy Agency. IEC.suite.dk, a non-profit organization who promotes global understanding and international solidarity. IFAD.org, International Fund for Agricultural Development. IFC.org, International Finance Corp. IFC.org, International Finance Corporation. ifc.org/publications, publications. IGADRegion.org, Inter, Governmental Authority on Development. IGC.ch, Inter, Governmental Consultations on Asylum, Refugee and Migration Policies in Europe, North America and Australia. igc.ch/frstatistics.htm, Asylum Statistics. iho.sham.fr, International Hydrographic Organization. iica.ac.cr, Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture. ILO.org, International Labour Organization. ILO.org, International Labour Organization, ILO. ilo.org/public/english/support/lib/dblist.htm, access ILO databases. imc.org, Internet Mail Consortium. imf.org, International Monetary Fund, IMF. imf.org, International Monetary Fund. imf.org/external/fin.htm, IMF Finances, Financial Data. imf.org/external/pubind.htm, Publications. imf.org/external/pub/ft/staff p/archive.htm, Staff Papers. imo.org, International Maritime Organization. imo.org, International Maritime Organization. infoexport.gc.ca/ifinit/menu-e, International Financing Network. interactioncouncil.org. internationalcenter.com, Foreign Policy. interpol.int, International Criminal Police Organization, Interpol. interpol.int, International Criminal Police Organization. intracen.org, International Trade Center. intracen.org, International Trade Center. intrescom.org, International Rescue Committee. ioc.org, International Olympic Committee. iojD.org, International Order of Jobs Daughters, an international fraternal organization for young. iom.ch, iom.int, International Organization for Migration. iom.int, International Organization for Migration. iom.int, International Organization for Migration, IOM. iodc.org/english/index.php, Indian Ocean Tuna Commission, IOTC. iphc.washington.edu/halcom, International Pacific Halibut Commission, IPHC. iphc.washington.edu/halcom/default.htm, International Pacific Halibut Commission, IPHC. ipu.org, Inter, Parliamentary Union. ipu.org, ipu.org/strct-e/other jobs, Inter-Parliamentary Union. ipu.org/bdf-e/bdfsearch.asp, Women in Politics, Bibliographic Database. ipu.org/parline-e/parlinesearch.asp, Parline Database, Parliamentary, Electoral System, and Election Results Database. ipu.org/parlit-e/parlitsearch.asp, Parlit, Bibliographic References on Parliamentary Law and Practice. isa.org.jm, International Seabed Authority. isa.org.jm/en/default.htm, International Seabed Authority. isdb.org, Islamic Development Bank Group. isn.fz.ch, International Relations and Security Network. itlos.org, International Tribunal for the Law of the Sea. itu.int, International Telecommunication Union. iucn.org, World Conservation Union, IUCN. iwcoffice.org, International Whaling Commission. iwcoffice.org/publications/pubmain.htm, publications. iyfnet.org, International Youth Foundation. Journal on the subject. Kuwait.net/OPCT, Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries. labordoc.ilo.org, Labordoc. laborsta.ilo.org, Laborsta, Labor Statistics Database. lcweb2.loc.gov/frd/cs/caribbean_islands/cx_appnc.html, Appendix C, the Caribbean Community and Common Market. lib.berkeley.edu/gssi/eu, European Union. library.yale.edu/un. maui.com/Leslie, Engaged Buddhist Dharma page, a Buddhist perspective on human rights and other issues. miga.org, Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency. migrationpolicy.org/programs/migration-information-source, migration information source, voluntary and involuntary, i.e. NALC.org, Commission for Labor Cooperation. NADbank.org, North American Development Bank. NAFO.ca, Northwest Atlantic Fisheries Organization, NAFO. NAFTA, SEC, alena.org/english/index.htm, North American Free Trade Agreement Secretariat, NAFTA. NAFTA.net, North American Free Trade Agreement. nam.gov.za/index.html, non, Aligned Movement, NAM. NASCO.int, North Atlantic Salmon Conservation Organization, NASCO. NATO.int, NATO. NATO.int, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. NATO.int, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. NATO.int/docu/handbook, NATO handbook. NATO.int/docu/home.htm, online library. NATO.int/home.htm, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO. NATO.int/structure/recruit/index.htm, in Brussels, the North American Treaty Organization. NEA.fr, Nuclear Energy Agency. NEAFC.org, North, East Atlantic Fisheries Commission, NEAFC. Nearist.org, helps Asian countries. Norden.org, Nordic Council. Norden.org/start/start.asp?lang=6, Nordic Council and Council of Ministers. Northernforum.org, the Northern Forum. NPAFC.org, North Pacific Anadromous Fish Commission, NPAFC. nt1.ids.ac.uk/cgap/index.htm, the Microfinance Gateway. nt1.ids.ac.uk/eldis/jobs/job_leal.htm, eldis development, environmental protection, list of international organizations, etc. oapec.org, Organization of Arab Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. oapec.org/publications.htm, publications. oas.org, Organization of American States, OAS, academic/research/think tank share 3. oas.org, Organization of American States, OAS. oas.org, Organization of American States. oas.org/department_of_international_law.htm, Department of International Law. oas.org/en/pinfo/hr/job.htm, Organization of American States, Washington, D.C. oau-oua.org, African Unity. odc.org, Overseas Development, helps developing countries. OECD.org, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD. OECD.org, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, the major industrialized nations. OECD.org, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. OECD.org, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Paris, France, centers worldwide. OECD.org/FATF, Financial Action Task Force on Money Laundering. OECD.org/products, free on-line documents. OECD.org/subject/reg database, International Regulation Database. OECS.org, Eastern Caribbean States. OIC, OCI.org, Organization of the Islamic Conference. OIT.org/global. Olympic.usa.org, U.S. Olympic Committee. USA.unvienna.org/COPUOS, Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. OPCW.org, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, the Chemical Weapons Convention website. OPEC.org, Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. OPW.org, Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. OSCE.org, Organization for Security and Operation in Europe, OSCE. OSCE.org, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe. OSCE.org/docs/index.htm, Documents Library. OSCE-Prague.cz, Organization for Security and OSPAR.org/eng/html/welcome.html, OSPAR, Commission for the Protection of the Marine Environment of the North, East Atlantic. Oxfam.org, Oxfam. Oxfam.org, Oxfam, the Relief and Development Organization. PAHO.org, PAN, American Health Organization, PAHO. PAHO.org, Pan American Health Organization. people.virginia.edu/rjb3v/rjb.html, Foreign Affairs Online, International Relations, from a U.S. perspective. PSS.int, North Pacific Marine Science Organization, PS. planetpurple.northwestern.edu, Northwestern Calendar, Planet Purple. ppc.pims.org, Partnership for Peace. psc.org/index.htm, Pacific Salmon Commission. public.web.cern.ch/public, European Organization for Nuclear Research, CERN. publications.worldbank.org/e-commerce, World Bank Publications. rand.org, Public Policy Research. Refugees, Migration Policy Institute. ariched.cmeo.org/index.html, Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization. rubberstudy.com, International Rubber Study Group. rubberstudy.com/stats.htm, Rubber Statistics. SAARC, sec.org, South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation. saarc-sec.org, South Asian Regional Cooperation. sadc.int, South African Development. sdgateway.net/jobs, Sustainable Development Gateway. sopac.org.fj, South Pacific Applied Geoscience Commission. sopac.org.fj/data/verlib/index.html, Virtual Library. sourceoecd.org, Source OECD. southcenter.org, South Center, an intergovernmental organization of developing countries. spc.int, Pacific Community. spc.org.nc, Secretariat of the Pacific Community. state.gov/p/io. thecommonwealth.org, Commonwealth Secretariat. thecommonwealth.org, the Commonwealth. thecommonwealth.org, the Commonwealth, organization of, mostly, former British colonies. theglobalfund.org, the Global Fund. trilateral.org, industrial promotion in the westernized countries. un.org, United Nations. un.org/womenwatch/daw/cdaw/index.html, Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. uncaps.unsystem.org, UNCAPS, library catalogs, indexes and abstract databases, library holdings, links to full, text resources, and archives. uncaps.unsystem.org, UNCAPS. undp.org, Development Program. unca.org, Economic Commission for Africa. unep.ch, Environment Program. unfpa.org, United Nations Population Fund. unicc.org, International Computing Center. unidroit.org, International Institute for the Unification of Private Law, UNIDROIT. unidroit.org, International Institute for the Unification of Private Law. unilat.org, Latin Union. unodc.org/unodc/en/world_drug_report.html, production, consumption, and trafficking of illegal drugs. unsystem.org, Unsystem of Organizations. unwdo.org, World Tourism Organization. unwdo.org, World Tourism Organization, WTO. upu.int, Universal Postal Union. usaid.gov, U.S. Agency for International Development. usitc.gov, International Trade Commission. voanews.com. wcmc.org.uk/sites/eng/index.html, Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora Secretariat. wqmd.org, World Customs Organization. wds.worldbank.org, World Development Sources. weblib.cern.ch/welcome.php, weblib.cern.ch, CERN Library Catalog. webmediavan.com/parlamaz, Amaz and Okyat, Nico. weu.int, Western European Union. wfp.org, World Food Programme. wfp.org, World Food Programme. wfp.org/infoservice_home.html, statistics page. wfs.org, World Future Society. who.com, World Health Organization. who.int, World Health Organization, WHO. who.int, World Health Organization. wipo.int, World Intellectual Property Organization, United Nations agency regulating copyright, trademark, patent, and Internet domain issues. who.int, World Health. who.int/employment/vacancies/n, World Health Organization. who.int/home/info.html, information sources. who.int/whosis, WHO Statistical Information System. who.org, World Health Organization. wipo.int/eng/main.htm, World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO. wmo.ch, Meteorology. wmo.ch, World Meteorological Organization. wmo.int, World Meteorological Organization. worldbank.org. worldbank.org, World Bank. worldbank.org/careers, World Bank. worldbank.org/data, data and maps. worldbank.org/hrs/careers.nsf, the World Bank, Washington, D.C., and around the world. worldbank.org/ICSID, International Center for Settlement Disputes. worldbank.org/IDA, International Development Association. worldbank.org/IDA, International Development Association. worldbank.org/transition newsletter, transition, the newsletter about reforming economies. world-tourism.org. WTO.org, World Trade Organization. WTO.org, World Trade Organization, WTO. wto.org/english/info_e/site_e.htm, website directory. wto.org/english/res_e/doload_e/doload_e.htm, download material. wto.org/english/res_e/status_e/status_e.htm, trade statistics. wto.org/english/thutu_e/what is_e/tif_e/org6_e.htm, members and observers. wto.org/english/tradeop_e/schedules_e/goods_schedules_e.htm, goods schedules. wto.org/wto/vacancies/vcont.html, World Trade Organization, WTO, Switzerland. ymca.net, YMCA.